She lay where the desert had decided to forget her, body pressed into gravel bleached pale as old bone. Breath came shallow, each draw rasping like wind dragged through a broken canyon throat. Blood darkened the dust beneath her, already drying, already claimed. Above, the sky stretched vast and indifferent, too wide for mercy, too blue for prayer. She did not cry out. She listened to the silence, and waited. He saw her from the ridge, a dark interruption in a land that tolerated no accidents. The rancher reined in his horse, squinting against the sun, already telling himself to ride on. The frontier had taught him that mercy was expensive, and solitude cheaper. Yet his boots touched the ground. An old ache stirred, something buried, not dead. He stood there longer than necessary, listening to a conscience he had sworn forgotten. He lifted her with careful hands, a burden both physical and moral, and moved toward the cabin. Each step crunched over stone and dust, echoing in the emptiness. The door protested on its hinges as he entered, carrying life and frailty into the dim interior. He laid her near the hearth, a space neither of them claimed yet. Silence filled the room, fragile as glass, binding them in unspoken agreement. When she stirred, her eyes darted first to threat, scanning the cabin like a hawk. He remained still, seated by the wall, rifle untouched. Slowly, deliberately, he set down water and bread, then retreated a step, offering sustenance without intrusion. Hunger overcame caution. She drank, lips trembling, eyes never leaving him. In the steady silence, the room shifted, fear softened into cautious curiosity, and the quiet spoke in a language neither had learned but both understood. That night, she hummed softly, a low melody swallowed by the crackle of the fire. It was not meant for him, yet it seeped into the room, carrying weight beyond words. He placed a small carved token by the hearth, worn by time and memory. Loss recognized loss, unspoken but understood. Morning brought unease on silent feet. Fresh tracks pressed into the dusty ground, circling the cabin with deliberate intent. He knelt, studying them, counting but not needing to, their meaning was clear. Peace, he realized, was never a possession here, only a fragile pause. He glanced back at her, the weight of his choice pressing against his chest, and knew the frontier would demand its reckoning soon enough. Words came slowly, like stones lifted from the bottom of a well. She spoke first of her sisters, tall, unyielding, vanished in a blaze that left nothing but smoke and grief. Her voice trembled with memory, yet held the fierce steadiness of survival. He answered with his own ruin, a homestead raided, a wife buried before the winter claimed her name from the earth. Silence settled between them, heavy but honest, binding their sorrow into a shared understanding. Here, in the hushed room, grief became their bridge rather than a chasm. She rose with steady resolve, tending the hearth, mending torn cloth, and gathering wood. No longer a guest, no longer a shadow, she moved with purpose. "I stay," she said, voice quiet but unshakable. Not a request, but an offering of herself as equal, a presence that would share both labor and watchfulness. He nodded once, recognizing the weight of this chosen ground, understanding that trust had been earned in silence and small deeds. By afternoon, shapes emerged where the land bent to distance, riders moving with deliberate purpose. Dust rose behind them, a pale warning that drew the eye and quickened the heartbeat. The rancher counted silently, then stopped, numbers no longer mattered. He checked his rifle, but did not raise it. Some reckonings could not be hurried, some decisions demanded patience and a steady hand, and he felt the weight of both pressing down from the sun-scorched sky. They came to the cabin's edge with confident strides and the weight of entitlement in their hands. The rancher stepped forward alone, body still, eyes calm, voice steady but low. "This land has its lines," he said, not as threat but as truth. "Do not cross them. Hands drifted toward guns, but he did not flinch. Authority, he knew, was not measured in noise or fire, but in the certainty of one who stands unshaken. Behind him, she appeared, unhidden and unafraid, a silent declaration that their ground was shared. The wind whispered between them, carrying tension and resolve, and the intruders paused, sensing the strength of a quiet, immovable conviction. She stepped to his side without hesitation, not summoned, not sheltered, her presence a declaration. Together, they faced the land and the approaching threat as one, two figures bound by choice and shared understanding. The riders hesitated, then began to retreat, dust rising slowly behind them like the final exhale of tension. Silence returned, but it was different now, earned and sacred. She glanced at him, eyes steady, and he knew that this bond, forged in fire and shadow, would endure. Here, on this chosen ground, they had found more than safety, they had found belonging. Months later, the cabin breathed easier. Smoke rose in gentle spirals from the chimney, carrying warmth into the morning air. Laughter, rare, unguarded, found space to live between the walls. In a land carved by cruelty and indifference, they had chosen something harder, mercy, patience, and each other. The desert, for once, did not argue.